Hello, this is Jan Moray and Mona Duncan, and welcome to this week's version of Greet the Week. We will be coming to you every Monday and just talking about different things to help you get started on a positive note. So, Mona, you got any comments you'd like to start off with?
Well, yes, I really would. We're already halfway through January, but I wanted to still, talk about greeting the week and greeting the year and greeting everything with new attitudes and so forth. And I thought January would be a good jumping off point for us. And looking at the fact that, everything is named after something. We communicate in words, but we think in pictures. And so if we don't have a picture to associate it with, we could be using a word, but we don't even know what it means. So in looking at everything, is about history and repetition and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, January, is named after the two-faced god of Greek mythology named Janus. And it was the god that was looking forward and, a two-faced god looking backward. And he was also the god of war and reconciliation and that kind of stuff. And that's kind of where resolutions come from. And thought we would maybe look at how everything can be taken as is, but then we can, depending on our perception and how we really look at it, it can go to the negative or to the positive. And that maybe, we need to look back so that we can make corrections in order to have more success in going forward.
Right. And it's also good to acknowledge that there's at least two sides to everything that we do. And we have a choice as to which way we look at things.
Exactly. At least two sides. I like the way that you put that in there. Because sometimes, we think, well, it's a yes or a no, but it's not. There's just a whole array of different choices within each of those yeses or nos and attitudes and all that kind of stuff. So it's looking at back, and rather than looking back at it to, not only to enjoy things, but to see how things could maybe be corrected, and then look forward and how we can take those goals into the future. And resolution, we think of January as making new resolutions and all this stuff. I like to look at it as resolving.
Getting a fresh start.
Yeah, getting a fresh start. I'm going to, I had that and it didn't quite go as planned, so I'm going to solve it again.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it again.
Yeah, it gives us a chance for a new beginning, new year. But it doesn't mean that it's only January when we do this stuff. These skills we can learn to do any time of year. Anytime that we see that things aren't going quite the way we planned, we're not feeling good about it, it's time to stop and think, look back a little bit, see what happened, and then look forward and say, what could be? How can I make this better? How can I be happier? How can I be more successful? Whatever.
Yeah. Any day, even, the Dr. Pepper 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10, to refresh. Well, the thing of it is we don't have to wait until tomorrow. We don't have to wait until Monday. We don't have to wait until next week, next year, next anything. We just take a minute, sit and pause and recollect and negotiate with ourselves and review and all that kind of stuff, and just start over. Every moment, really, every breath is a new opportunity.
Right.
To see things, do things differently.
Yeah, and it's always good to keep your eyes open for what's working and what isn't working, and stop anytime. I like to tell people to use their feelings as their guide. If you're getting that funny feeling in your stomach or you just doesn't sound right, stop and assess where you are and where you're going, and maybe this isn't quite right for me. I need to be doing something else, or maybe I'm not doing enough.
Right, exactly. And then it's always looking at that, it's accepting where we are in this moment. Mm-hmm. This is where I am. I like to look at it that everything is the way that it seems, nothing is the way that it seems.
Right.
And if we take those two extremes and bring it right here to, with more middle ground, it is what it is. And it is what it is so what? Now what?
Right.
It is what it is. It's plain, ordinary, routine. Am I going to make it exciting, or am I going to get all dulled out about it? You know, it is what it is. How am I going to handle it? And there may be there are all kinds of things, you know, other people and other situations and so forth. But the only one anything I have any control over is what I do and how I respond to it. And so it's responding to it rather than reacting to it.
Yeah. And I like it that it is what it is, because so many times we try to go back and we're upset about it, you know, what happened, what we did, and how we did the wrong thing, made the wrong decision. And that does not help us to move forward. It keeps us stuck. And to accept that it is what it is, sometimes it's hard.
Yeah, it is what it is. And you know, way back before Bill Clinton had all of his discussion on what does is mean, just what does is mean? What is a present perfect tense verb, meaning that it doesn't change. It is. It is what it is.
Right.
So what? You know, and it's kind of, well, that sounds like you're giving up. So what? Well, yeah, I am giving up, because if it is, I don't have any control over it. It is what it is. So what? Now what? What can I do? How can I look at it? How can I be a part of the problem, a part of the solution? How can I be an encourager, be a discourager? You know, how can I handle this? How can I? And I want to do it more effectively.
Right.
And again, as you were saying, we go by our feelings.
Because that's very good to listen to those.
Huh?
It's very good to listen to those.
It is, because our body is always talking to us. We just don't take the time to listen to it. I work with pre-release prisoners, and I tell them, you know, it is what it is, and now what are you going to do about it? And we need to always monitor our own body speaking to us. But we don't, you know, so if you say yes to something, regardless of what your decision is, whether you say yes, whether you say no, whatever it is, pay attention to your body and see if you can breathe.
Yeah,
because you know what? If you say yes to something, you know, oh, yes, I'm going to buy this, and you walk away with, oh, no, I'm in debt, turn around, and your body's already saying, You're putting too much weight on me. You don't have on the budget. You know, turn around and buy something that's more within your budget. Always go with what makes you able to breathe. Therefore, you're able to feel better about it.
Yeah. Because we know when we're making a wrong decision, but we're just caught in that momentum of moving forward, that this is what we've been talking about. This is what's going to happen. I'm on this train, and we feel like we can't stop it. And it takes practice to learn how to stop that train. So, hey, this really doesn't feel good to me.
Yeah. Well, you know, I might not be an engineer of a train, even though we're on this train, but I am the driver of my own car. So how do you stop a car?
Put on your foot on the brake.
Well, you do, and that's what we think of most, because we think in pictures, you know, we go with action. But there's something you do before you put your foot on the brake.
You decide what you're going to do?
Well, kind of.
Kind of. We decide. I mean, we see the need out there. You know, we may not even be aware of the fact that we're deciding to stop the car. But we see out there that we're gaining too fastly on something, and, you know, we need to slow it down or stop it or whatever. But we put the foot on the brake, but the thing of it is we take the foot off the gas feed. Okay. That we do that first, right?
Yeah. And it's letting ourselves know that we're doing those things. I am choosing to not engage in that, so I can do something that is more effective for the good of the whole. Not only to keep me from running into someone, but to keep someone else from being run into by me.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Everything is just so multidimensional and has so many instant as well as long-lasting repercussions. And it's, you know, being open to that and aware of that.
Well, just training yourself to look for it.
Right.
And I think that's what the deal is about listening to your feelings, because your feelings, your body is already attuned to everything that's going on about you, even though you might be oblivious to everything.
Right,
So
exactly.
you start learning to pay attention to what your body is telling you. I mean, that does take practice. It takes time to acknowledge that and to understand what your body's trying to tell you, because most of the time we don't want to hear it. We just kind of brush it off, and to learn to listen to it and say, okay, what does that mean? Why am I getting this all of a sudden my mood dropped? What's happening here? What do I not like about it? Did I miss something he said or whatever?
Yeah. It's just that what if, what if? What if I could have not just spouted off, what if I could have, what if I could?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's getting the answer back that, well, yeah, you really can. You have more control over your thoughts, over your actions, over everything than you're giving yourself credit for.
And that is so empowering.
It is empowering.
Understand that.
It is empowering, unless whenever we respond to things negatively and we look back on it and beat ourselves up because, if only I would have.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if we stop that and say, I could have. Because realizing I could have, and then that's empowering to know that, I can the next time something like that happens.
I can. Those are very powerful words.
Yeah. Someone asked me the other day, I made a comment, something similar to that, about, going back and realizing what I could have done, because that would give you a pattern of, for the future action. And that person said, well, no, that's just loading more guilt on yourself. I could have this, I could have that. I said, well, it depends on whether or not you're adding it as that weight that's, in that backpack that you're keeping you down with, or it's an enlightenment. I could have. It's that light bulb moment.
Yeah.
And whenever I could have, and then I just reach up there, although it's a light bulb, I still can grab it and embrace it. And then I own it, because the next time I can.
Right.
And then the next time that we can, we look back and we embrace it. Oh, I did. I will. I do. And we let that new train take its track.
Yes.
The little childhood try. I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. I think I can.
Yeah. Well, and that goes with failure. A lot of people are so afraid of failure because they're looking at it as something bad.
Right.
And it's like, well, you can look at it a different way. You don't have to look at it as being something bad. It's the whole, okay, I'm not ready yet. I haven't learned everything that I need to move forward in this. So what am I supposed to learn from this experience?
Exactly.
Or maybe it's a warning that I was headed down the wrong path. I need to reconsider what I'm doing, and maybe there's a better way or another way I should be going.
Yes. It's being aware. It's thinking about reconsidering, making new resolves.
Yes.
New solutions, and then using those, and then saying, well, maybe it wasn't 100% perfect, but, and then giving leeway to how much better it was or how much worse it was, so that then we know, well, my husband, he is so funny, and he likes to kind of piddle with, woodworking and so forth. But anyway, he always makes this comment. He says, the real thing is measure twice, cut once.
Oh, yeah.
And he says his philosophy is cut twice, measure once. So if we realize that we're cutting once and, we should have measured twice, it's time to acknowledge that fact. It is what it is.
It is.
Now what? Am I going to have to, put a shim in there, put some putty in there, do some constructive measure? Or am I learning to measure twice before I cut once?
That's right.
And as we see how much more effective that is, and how much more beautiful our handiwork is and all that kind of stuff, then it becomes a habit with us, and, well, that's just the way I am.
Right. And then not to beat yourself up when you do have to cut twice.
Exactly. 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 I did what I did. Now, so what? Now, how am I going to treat me because I did what I did?
Right.
Am I going to be gracious? Not to say, oh, everything's okay, just go on and do that if you want to. No, be gracious enough to say, hey, this is a lesson to learn by.
Right.
But still, extend that grace to yourself.
Exactly.
You know,
Don't be hard on yourself, because that
yeah,
doesn't get you anywhere.
yeah. And compassion, back to the two-faced Janice.
Mhm.
That, you know, compassion, sometimes they say, well, people are just flip-floppers. They flip from this, they flop to that. And, you know, it's a big deal in politics and all that kind of stuff. And yet, you know, Jan, if we never learned from, if we never had any new information, we're stagnant.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it's learning to look at things with fresh eyes.
Right.
Oh, maybe there's something there. Again, either it is what it is, or the positive or the negative, but looking at it again with fresh eyes and say, what can I learn from this? And how can I apply it so that it will be much more effective?
Right. Well, you talk about us being stagnant. I can remember a long, long time ago when I was a young engineer, just starting out, and I was always pushing, trying to do different things and new things. And my boss, he said, Jan, you're just going to have to accept what is here right now. You just got to do it the way we've always done it. And I said, if I just sit here and do it the way we've always done it, I'm going to die. I can't sit still. I'm seeing another way. I'm seeing a better way. I think this is going to be better than what we've had. But so many people, they're so complacent with the way things are, and they're not growing. They're just sitting in there and they're withering away. They're dying because if we stagnate and we're not changing, if we're being so adverse to change, we're not growing. And there's something exciting about that, to try new things and to look at it that way. I mean, there are so many people who really are afraid of change and afraid to do something different. They're comfortable with what they're doing right now. And,
Right.
And it's like, okay, so how is that working for you?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm writing an article that I'm getting ready to post on LinkedIn about routine and serendipity.
Uh-huh.
And how back to the everything's the way that it seems, nothing is the way that it seems. And, in serendipity, in the routine of life, when there's something different, and again, either negative or positive, do we really pay attention to it? Do we really pay attention to it? And so I have, I guess just innately, and who knows where all it come from, that I have a tendency to look at things to bring the middle ground, such as in, again, New Year's and resolutions and all that kind of stuff, that in looking at goal setting and time management, I like to look at being rigidly flexible.
Rigidly flexible. I like that.
Yeah. Meaning, set those goals, weigh and measure, have those measurements, have that, all that kind of stuff, but be willing to be a little bit flexible.
Yeah.
And so it's taking those extremes and it's bringing it middle ground so that we can flow and just really enjoy. And so it's that stagnation of it's always this way, and just keep on doing it that way. And the beauty and the fluidity of, just a little bit of change, so that we can bring it together, so that we can honor what's gotten us to the point of where we are now. Again, whether it was a broken leg and we had to use a crutch, or we was able to get there on our own steam, as well as the fact of how that, the newness of it, of changing it up just a little bit, is going to make it so much more refreshing.
Yeah. Yes. And so how do you get beyond that fear so that you're willing to do that and try it?
Well, in exercising, I like to do stretches and so forth. And whenever I do, I imagine myself. Well, it goes back to the Falun Dafa, that is one of the Oriental, and you start out by putting your hands together and feeling the tension. And then you stretch and feel it relax, and then you just like a rag doll, just meld into it. And then you do another exercise, and you push and you come back and you do the tension. And when I do that, I always name those tensions that's current in my life, that I'm stretching to release, get rid of those, where the meridian points that clog up all of our tension and so forth, to release it. Maybe I'll push out here that I'm expanding to the ends of the earth, my teaching, my training, reality therapy, choice theory, etc., to the ends of the earth. And then I just relax into it. But I come back to the tension of, I want to teach the world choice theory, but you know what? I want to just chill out in front of the TV. And then, and I push out this way, and I'm looking at pushing back the world that's crowding in on me. And yet I'm feeling the tension of, but I want to be involved.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and it's realizing that in every situation there's that both and.
Mm-hmm.
There's that tension, but it's acknowledging it. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
And then flowing in it.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. Well, I see I have, 1:23. We can talk for a few more minutes here.
Okay. All right. I see we do have one person listening in.
Oh, wonderful.
If you have any questions or comments, feel free to jump in and throw in, what you're thinking about it, or any questions you might have, or if you just want to stay silent, that's fine too. Mona and I will just keep this discussion going.
Right. That it is, and again, back into yoga and meditating, it is attention without tension.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And so that's back to having, it's attention without the tension of it. It's being relaxed and swaying into, but being fully aware, or as fully aware as we can be as human beings with all of our, we have our senses that are constantly on, and they're constantly receiving information and giving us information, because but yet at the same time there's so much that it's being broadcast, but we can't receive it all. So and we can be tense about the fact that we can't receive it all. I can't hear everything that's being said. I can't see all I want to see. But it's having attention without tension.
I like that.
The stress of it.
Right. Because we do take on a lot of stress that we don't need to take on.
Exactly. And maybe, just maybe, it is because deep down inside in our wisdom heart, we know that we have more capabilities than we're willing to step up to bat and employ.
Yeah.
And so therefore, what we see as stress, which is stressful, is the tension that we're putting on ourselves.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a lot of the stress is what we're doing to ourselves instead of what anybody else is doing to us. We think somebody's expecting something, and we put more pressure on ourselves than what they probably would.
Yeah. And compassion, psychologists tell us that compassion is just, it's a human emotion. And it is one of it's the drawing emotion that unites us together as human beings and is more alike than we are different, But at the same time, we rarely ever give compassion to ourselves.
Right.
So how do we change? It is what it is. The mistakes I made, the successes I made. But you know what? If I rest on those laurels of the success, I'm not going to keep on succeeding.
Right.
And if I stay stuck because of those failures, I'm stuck. So I need to have a little compassion for myself. That, it is what it is. I did what I did. I cut it twice.
Right.
I measured twice. It is what it is. Now, what am I going to do about it? But also, what kind of attitude am I going to have toward it? And can I give me a little bit of compassion?
And along with that too is look at the things that you did not do well, and acknowledge that it didn't go well. Because so many times we don't want to hear it, we don't want to see it, and so we avoid it, and we act like it didn't happen, and we don't grow from that either, and that doesn't help us at all.
Yeah, but instead of being January two-faced, look and see, what I can learn from that, so that we can really face the world and not be ashamed of. I think I mentioned that I work with pre-release prisoners, federal prisoners, and I met this lady one day out that had been in my 9-week class on learning how to overcome difficulties, and anyway, we were talking, and I was asking her how things were going and so forth, and she said, it's really kind of strange. She says, I don't know how to explain it. She says, I am ashamed of what I did, but I'm not shamed by it. And I applauded her.
Yeah.
I said, that is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, that's huge.
Yeah, I'm ashamed of what I did, but I'm not shamed by it.
Yeah.
It's when we continually keep that shame there that we bring our own stress, and we have no compassion for us.
No, I like that. That's good.
And Dr. Glasser says we're always doing the best we can. Oh, give me a break. I could have done better than that. Well, you know what? Now own it. Let it be empowering.
Right.
Let it be empowering. So I don't know about you, but I am empowered by this talking out. I always enjoy meeting with you.
Me too, Mona. Even you talk about choice theory, finding people who understand it and understand the power we have within us right now to live the kind of life that we want. It's sky's the limit. You can do whatever. And when you keep looking back and looking at the things that you think are holding you back, it's like, okay, it is what it is. Now, what can you do about it? Is there something?
Right.
Because there's always something you can do. It might not be something very pleasant, but maybe down the road, something better will come out of it.
Right. And back to that routine or serendipity that I was getting ready to post on LinkedIn. I'm ending it up with, this is just a routine post that I put on, but the serendipity of it is it's your last minute invite to attend a reality therapy seminar this weekend. It's not too late. It's this Saturday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah, I'm really sorry.
Get it on the Sunbelt website or the Glasser website.
Yeah, I need to get on your LinkedIn so I can post those to the Sunbelt Facebook page, and we need to be putting that out on there.
Okay. Well, are we friends on LinkedIn?
I'll have to look.
Yeah, well, I'll send you an invite.
Okay. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the recording. So thanks, everybody, for listening. We are planning to do this every Monday at 1 o'clock Central Time. So you can either join us live, or we will be posting this on, for sure, the Sunbelt Facebook page and probably some other places. So thanks a lot, and we'll see you next week. Okay.